Hello, I'd like to introduce myself. I go by the handle of Beer Night. I have been a Redditor for the past 2 years. I frequent the subreddit of our conspiracy. Now, in this subreddit, we like to deal with things like 9/11 truthers, Sandy Hook, is it a conspiracy or not, ISIS videos, are they real or fake, all sorts of different nonsense, real or imagined. About a month ago, there was a thread that showed up called Five Guys, Burgers, and Fries. Now, with this thread title, it sounds like BS, but I was kind of curious as why this was in conspiracy. So I clicked on the link and it showed a video about some chick who had slept with five other guys. I wish I could care about this. It's nothing important. It's not like it's the New World Order is going on here. Well, apparently the video was made by a guy named Internet Aristocrat. And his tone was very much out there, but was pointing out some of the ethics violations because apparently the woman was sleeping around with, she was an independent game developer, and the people that she was sleeping with were game journalists. Now, I was wondering, why was this in conspiracy? This should be in R Gaming. Well, but when I go over to R Gaming and I look for the name Zoe Quinn, which is the name of the woman, I have threads being deleted throughout this particular subreddit. I was very curious as to why this happened. Apparently, there was a moderator for R Gaming that decided to delete anything to do with her and the Five Guys video. Had to go over to 4chan, which was a website that has a freewheeling reputation. In certain areas, the members of this website would say things that normally would not be said in polite company. If you can name a swear word, it's been said. If you can name a slur, it's been said. Apparently on 4chan, the ex-boyfriend of Zoe Quinn put out a diatribe and let everybody go bananas. This is where I found out that there was something called shadow banning going on Reddit.com. Apparently the moderator for R Gaming was a friend of Zoe Quinn. Well, maybe not. They say you learn something new every day. Well, Gamergate has given me new words to my vocabulary. This whole past month has been a bonanza for me. Apparently, this moderator of our gaming is something called a white knight. Now, this refers to a male that comes to the rescue of a woman in distress. Usually the male is white, hence the name white knight. This is a derogatory term used to describe men who call themselves feminists. The first and most important person for Gamergate has been Internet Aristocrat. Now, he's made other videos where he's been criticizing feminism. I kind of chuckled because the people he's going after aren't really feminists. I learned a new word. It's called social justice warrior, or SJW for short. These people are usually tone deaf as a post, and it turns out that this is turning into a feminist anti-feminist battle. Which leads us into our second ringleader of the Gamergate, someone using the handle of Mundane Matt. Now, Mundane Matt likes to go to tumblr.com, look for feminist blogs, and type things that might agitate them. This is trolling, and it kind of makes me laugh. He gave some more information on a video of his that was taken down by YouTube with a DMCA. Apparently it violated the copyright of Zoe Quinn's game Depression Quest. Some of the allegations against Zoe is that she used her relationships to get favorable reviews and get the game up on Steam. This may or not be true, but there is a little bit of collusion, and it proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that independent game developers and game journalists are a particular social clique. Not necessarily a conspiracy, but definitely a clique. Before I go any further, I'd like to remind everybody a simple fact. A cover-up is always worse than the crime. Always has been, always will be. If it wasn't for the shadow banning on Reddit.com and thread deletions on 4chan.com or .org, this may have never blown up. Apparently someone wants to silence the idea that Zoe Quinn ever existed. This is a classic example of the Streisand effect. Well, she turned out definitely beyond the feminist side of things and a hard left type of feminist because she was in something called a game jam, which is another word that I learned through this whole experience, which makes 3 so far. Apparently this game jam was financed by a group called the Fine Young Capitalists, a women's group looking to promote more women in video games. Now, Zoe Quinn decided that she was going to call them names of this group, such as transphobia and other buzzwords from the far-left feminists or social justice warriors. There's a site called Indiegogo.com that was raising money for this group, called the Fine Young Capitalists. It was hacked, and the account for the capitalists had been replaced with a message pointed at 4chan, specifically using the letter V, representing that subforum for video games on the website. It was a rather crude and childish hack of Indiegogo.com. It wasn't going to fool anybody. Why anybody would hack Indiegogo doesn't make any sense, unless you understand how social justice warriors work. If you're not so hardcore left, you're not really a feminist to them. Being capitalists, they're definitely not on the far left. hence the name. Now, the hacking was ridiculous, but it shows that they are extremists on the internet, feminists and anti-feminists. Now, I use the word anti-feminist to separate that from those that are sexist or misogynist. 4chan.org has a reputation for a freewheeling website where anybody can say anything. It's a lovely little website they gave us the adult fandom for, My Little Pony, referred to as bronies. But this is also the very same website that if you've ever heard a slur, it's been said. Remotely sexist, it's been said, and the fact that the ex-boyfriend for Zoe Quinn dropped this crude diatribe in the middle of 4chan just stirred up a hornet's nest of online harassment. Now, the thing about social justice warriors is that they have a preconceived notion that they are victims, which leads us to the word professional victim. As when I've heard this charge dropped about different forms of medium, I've heard it before. Now, the professional victim is not actually interested in ending racism or ending sexism or actually toppling capitalism for that matter. No, what we're finding is that there's a new player in this by the name of Anita Sarkeesian, who is really nothing more but another YouTuber. But she's been in a pitched battle with a third ringleader of Gamergate. He goes by the name of Thunderfoot. Now, Anita Sarkeesian made YouTube series about tropes against women in video games, labeling the video game industry as sexist. Thunderfoot has been making retaliatory YouTube videos debunking anything that Sarkeesian has ever said, and doing a fine job of it, not only through logic, but through patience and a fantastic mannerism. Of the three ringleaders, only Thunderfoot is the one that looks the most reasonable. We may yet get a fourth ringleader if Total Biscuit is brought in when he's done with his cancer surgery. Now, as little scandal has progressed, about a week, Sarkeesian decided to drop yet another one of her YouTube videos in order to gain traction. Now, she's made some false claims about video games being sexist in her previous videos, which has earned her a reputation of being a liar, and she's gotten online death threats because of this. It's not that she's a woman to be getting attacked. It's because she's been lying about the industry. So now that the narrative has been established, because professional victims are playing something called identity politics. In identity politics, women are constantly victims of harassment, either sexism or misogyny and so forth. So Sarkeesian decides issues over the release of the video in the middle of this in order to try and prove the point. This may have been orchestrated from the beginning because 4chan reacted in such a stereotypical manner. The stereotype, that is, for a gamer. A gamer is apparently someone who is white and male and young and very much sexist against women. This is a belief that permeated throughout most of society, but most people know that this is just a joke. But there are people that, if you ask, they truly believe that a gamer is a white, straight male. This is, it's not true. There's people that believe it. What shows that this isn't just a small clique, surroundings awake when there's something larger at work happening at the beginning of this month, when the stereotype of gamer was declared dead by the gaming press. Now they kind of dropped their pants by making this. They're making a bunch of think pieces within 48 hours that the gamer is dead and that sexist white pigs are no longer important to video games. Well, not only did they label every one of their customers white, which is not true, and male, which is also not true, but then they said it was such a bad thing to be a gamer in the first place that they alienated their base. The gamer base has been moving to YouTube and Twitch.tv. These journalists are dying. Now, these think pieces about the gamer being dead have only accelerated that shift. Matter of fact, Amazon.com has purchased Twitch.tv for over $1 billion because this is the future of video gaming. It is not the gamer that is dead, but gaming journalist that is dead. And they committed suicide at the beginning of September 2014. This narrative has been about Zoe Quinn and Anita Sarkeesian being victims of online harassment because they're feminists, but that's slowly starting to die down. However, they've gotten enough attention on social media to start bringing in Hollywood stars like Joss Whedon, the director of Avengers. He has chosen his side, while actor Adam Baldwin has chosen the other side. I just wish these two would come to terms with each other and get over this, forget about it, and just make a Firefly Season 2. Sorry about that. But no, this is a category for such a shitstorm of an epic proportion that we haven't seen in culture wars for some time. If we do a little bit of extra work, We might be able to make this up to a Category 5 legendary shitstorm that'll make ABC and CBS. The narrative that Zoe Quinn is just simply a victim of misogyny is slowly dying. There's a new hashtag out, by the way, called Not Your Shield. This is in reference to all the people who are gamers but are not white and male. You know what? I've actually learned yet a new word throughout my research on this topic in the past months. I came up with cis, C-I-S, or cishet, C-I-S-H-E-T. These are supposedly pejorative words based off of cisgender, which is yet another word I learned. Self-reflecting. Oh, God, I love that word. The far left needs to start self-reflecting on their own abuses of other people. Because, if I'm asked, I just would like to ask the social justice warriors this simple question. Am I supposed to be offended when you call me cisgendered? I'm not actually cisgendered, but if I was, am I supposed to be offended? I'll put it to you like this. If you were to call me gay, which I'm not, am I supposed to be offended? This is the problem with dealing with people who are professional victims. They don't even know how to insult somebody properly. Just, look in the dictionary. I mean, how am I supposed to be offended if you called me transgendered? Please tell me that I'm supposed to be offended, right? If you call me transgendered, am I supposed to be offended? And these people that you're dealing with, Thunderfoot, they're just so stupid and uneducated, and I don't even know how to use a word properly. I tell you what, Thunderfoot, you do God's work. You really do. I know you're an atheist, but you're doing God's work, whether you know it or not. Now, that's the gaming media has, they have dropped their pants and shown themselves to be of this particular mindset of labeling people sexist, misogynist, or cisgendered. It's not just a small social clique. This is actually a political agenda. Almost like an atmosphere that this is the reason for the shadow banning on Reddit.com. Now, I can't blame Christopher Poole, who goes by the name of Moot, and he runs the 4chan. I understand that there's some evidence that he might be friends with this feminist group, but, Moot he really had to actually clean up 4chan, because 4chan was just ridiculous. But of the three main ringleaders of the Gamergate, they're never really interested in actually insulting Zoe Quinn or Anita Sarkeesian. That's the 4chaners. Now, what our ringleaders have actually stumbled upon is something that's far beyond their comprehension. It's slowly starting to dawn on them as to what they're up against. Now, remember, Sarkeesian has been a part of a conference call, XOXO. You don't take my word for it. Go ahead and check it out. These aren't social justice warriors anymore, and this is a very special cult, because their ideology doesn't put them in a situation where they can actually be proven wrong. They can make their claims, however, and not actually back them up, and they can make progress toward their goal. Now, in some of these YouTube videos, they've been bringing up Jack Thompson and his crusade against violence in video games. And well, the problem with Jack Thompson is that he tried to sue the video game industry. Well, when you go into a courtroom, you have to bring evidence, and that's what destroyed Jack Thompson. Now, Anita Sarkeesian is not going to sue the video game industry, because she would have to actually bring actual evidence. So that's not really their goal. They just want to attack you, say certain things that, they're just complete lies, but they don't have to actually prove it because they're not going into a court of law. They can make their claims and their goal is to basically infiltrate the video gaming industry and populate this industry with people that are of a particular ideological bent. They're using the same cult-like tactics that you would find in various religions. It's as if Jim Jones is running a social justice crusade. Don't take my opinion for it. Go ahead and look up the XOXO conference and see for yourself. They populated the website, which is a very small and easily controllable with people of a particular agenda. And that's where our anti-feminists have stumbled across, is that the agenda is to take over the websites like Polygon or Kotaku and fill them up with people that are far left. I mean, not moderate left, Democrats, but I mean hard left feminazis and they're gonna try to force their way into the video gaming industry because, for example, Anita Sarkeesian herself is trying to get on the payroll of Electronic Arts, which is an actual developer. She's not actually trying to prove anything. She's just trying to get paid. Basically, this shitstorm is shining light on this cult that's trying to take over the video game industry. You do have to understand that the only way to truly destroy this is not the rhetoric. You're never going to win. You have to crank it up the shitstorm to the category 5 to where it becomes an actual national news item. You need somebody like Bill O'Reilly talking about it. You need Anderson Cooper talking about it. Then you'll have to find the FBI to break this cult up. You know, that's a lot of work for the Gamergate people to do in order to make this happen. If this cult may exist if this cult had never existed, the anti-feminists would have had nothing, and it would have just stayed with Zoe Quinn. It would have been a one-day affair. But we now have a shitstorm because there was that cover-up that is revealed. Because that's what the cover-up has revealed. It's funny is that the social justice crusade could have done absolutely nothing and just let it die over a day or two. But no, like the idea of attention, they immediately went to Twitter. Zoe Quinn and Anita Sarkeesian went directly to Twitter to complain about online harassment. This was a very bad move. They just didn't quite understand what they were up against, that they actually truly believed that their own propaganda, that the gamer was just a stupid, ignorant white male. But what has happened is the Streisand effect. This is a classic example. Has made sure that Anita Sarkeesian and Zoe Quinn are actually known, and that their relationship within this social justice cult is going to be known to the world. Now, I've run across a video on YouTube where they have a diagram connecting Zoe Quinn all the way up to DARPA. As a conspiratard on Reddit, this kind of tickles my fancy. I don't know how true this is, but it's certainly an entertaining thought. Now, I'm not going to say that they can figure out what's going on exactly. After all, we here at r/conspiracy can put our amateur Reddit sleuth hats on and find out who did the perpetration and find the perpetrators for the Boston Marathon bombing far before the FBI. All jokes aside, I'd like to know how far this Reddit hole goes.